Boo. What am I doing today? I'm going to, well, I watched The Backrooms, so I was going to watch a few videos talking about it because I'm very tired. If I have enough energy and want to, I will also make music. But from the looks of it, I don't think I will today. But Dub 250, that's pretty hype. Yeah, that's all I really gotta say. Let's just get into it. I don't know.
Welcome to the internet.
There we go. Finally, bro. I have been waiting with great patience to watch Charlie's reaction about The Backrooms. And now it can finally happen. Now it can finally happen. Dub. Hold on, let me just change my title. I mean, honestly, I don't care. Never mind. I don't give a freak. Who cares if people think I'm making music? But, ow! That kind of hurt. I don't know when he first posted it. I found it. This is where he first posted it. Damn. Dude, I've been having trouble lately, bro. I haven't been able to, like, talk. I've literally been having trouble. I've literally been having, like, issues talking the past, like, week, bro. I don't know what's wrong with me. It's actually kind of scary. I don't know if I have, like, dementia or whatever type of other stuff happens when you can't talk. But I don't know, bro. Something's wrong with me.
Yeah, it was good. I'd even go as far as to call it really good. And this is coming from a petite homunculus that doesn't even like the Backrooms. I always understood the appeal. I've just never personally found it scary or overly thought-provoking, and I've played oodles of Backrooms games that are just some of the stinkiest slop you'll ever experience on Steam dumpster diving. So I'm not exactly like the biggest.
I don't know. I know.
Backrooms enthusiast, but I've always commended and appreciated the hard work that Kane Parsons has poured into it, and now he gets to see his vision on the big screen. And he turned a hater to a glazer. I had always, yeah, it was good.
Okay, Dub. Oh my god, dude, I actually feel like crazy. This is the Backrooms movie any good?
Yeah, it was good. I'd even go as far as to call it really good. And this is coming from a petite homunculus that doesn't even like the Backrooms. I've always understood the appeal. I've just never personally found it scary or overly thought-provoking, and I've played oodles of Backrooms games that are just some of the stinkiest slop you'll ever experience on Steam dumpster diving. So, I'm not exactly like the biggest Backrooms enthusiast, but I've always commended and appreciated the hard work that Kane Parsons has poured into it, and now he gets to see his vision on the big screen. And he turned a hater to a glazer. I had always bah humbugged Backrooms, but this movie I really enjoyed. Now, it's not without.
Okay. Off to a good start. If y'all want to know my opinions real quick, I did thoroughly enjoy the movie. I do think the mascot guy chase thing. Okay, obviously spoilers. If you don't think there's gonna be freaking spoilers, get out of here, bro. But I do think the ending was kind of silly with the monster guy. I don't really know what to call him, but part of me understands because most of the movie was going through like therapy and trying to deep dive certain thoughts. So then it makes sense that there's like the monster that's himself, like, but bad, right? Like that kind of makes sense to me, that it's like he's almost deep diving his own thoughts in the back rooms, and then he meets the bad version of himself that ends up like overtaking, right? That makes sense to me, but still on a surface level, it's kind of cringy to just have him like looking deformed as a monster that chases. You know what I mean? I do think that's kind of silly. Besides that though, oh my god, great movie. That would be like the only thing I don't really like about it. But all the other stuff, dude, oh my god, they had everything. Wait, hold on, let me just talk about it for a second. They had everything, bro. I literally almost started, I teared up when they went to like the pool rooms. That was really cool. I really liked how the audio matched it as well. Like it went from like normal audio to like reflective audio because like there's tiles on the wall and all that because you're in the pool room. I thought that was, I didn't think that would be in the movie. I literally didn't. I didn't think that would make it because obviously like that's like almost like that's like what was popular in the games was like the pool room level. You know what I mean? But I thought that was really cool. The Christmas part was really fun. I didn't expect it at all because the pool ones I wanted to see because I've seen it in the games. The Christmas like little room or whatever, that was a whole, oh my goodness, that was really cool, bro. I wasn't expecting that at all. And then there was one other thing. Oh, it was the houses inside of the room, right? Which is also kind of from the games that I've seen. But that was really fun to see was like inside of the back rooms, there was houses, but like no sky, no nothing. It was just inside of the rooms. I thought that was really fun because that was almost one-to-one, like the type of stuff I imagined in my head. Like that's like the most liminal to me is when it looks like a house from the outside, but it's inside of a building. You go inside of the house, and then it's just endless maze of back rooms that lead to the other houses, and you think you're finally escaping, but you're just still inside. Oh my god, bro, that was sick. That was really fun. I love that part. But yeah, so those are the pros. The cons are definitely just like the weird. I think it's just the storyline. They're trying to make it about like memories and stuff like that, like memories fading and stuff. That was just kind of odd, but I think it was still okay. Let's see if he agrees with me.
Without flaws, obviously, no movie's perfect, but damn, he really did step up to the plate and hit a fucking dinger. So anyway, let's get into the weeds of it. Order up, here's that yappy meal. So, we follow, for the most part, Clark. He is a store owner who's selling furniture, and he's gone through a lot, and he's seeing a therapist named Mary that's trying to help him work on himself to change. Also, as with all the reviews I do these days, well, almost all the reviews I do these days, I'm getting into spoilers. So here's your spoiler warning. Alright, and there it is. So he is seeing Mary after he's been kicked out of his own house by Barbara, his significant other, and now he's living at the store, and he hates it. He wanted to be an architect, and he just unfortunately wasn't in the cards for him. Now he owns this furniture store, and he is just filled with this bubbling rage. And when he is going through an exercise with Mary, it becomes very clear that he has some deep-rooted anger and has this lack of ability to accept things that are his fault. He has a drinking problem. He lashes out. He bears resentment towards Barbara because he's paying for her to go to school to be a lawyer and not contributing. He pays for the house, but now he's kicked out of the house. It's not fair, and it's not his fault, that kind of thing. He's a pretty interesting character, and the acting in this film is, like, really good. That being said, there are times where the script just isn't super strong, so even though the acting is really solid, there are moments, and it's mainly towards, like, the second half of the film, where the dialogue just gets a little cattywampus, kind of gets weird and wacky, and I don't think it's, like, intentional. It just kind of, at times, doesn't hit the way I think it was supposed to. But it's not a huge issue because it was only a couple of lines that I thought kind of stumbled and fell a bit flat. It doesn't like ruin any scenes or any sequences or anything like that, but just something I wanted to make a mention of. For the most part, the writing and the acting are very, very strong. Anyway though, Clark owns this furniture store, and it's been having some electrical issues, and he, one night, goes downstairs of the furniture store and is trying to solve it himself, but he's really upset. He's fucking flipping switches, and then he accidentally discovers that the wall near the breaker, he can phase right through it. Dude's fucking no-clipping here. He then goes through the other side here, and that's when we get our first glimpse of the back rooms. And it looks really...
I liked the way they introduced it, right? I'm kind of actually happy they didn't go the OG trope of just like falling through the floor, right? Because originally the back rooms was like someone walking outside with a video camera and then they just face through the floor and then they can't escape, right? I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. It was kind of cool to see that you were able to enter and exit, at least in the beginning they were able to. You know, towards the end, I don't think there was exiting towards the end, but I do like that type of idea, that there was like, you were able to, like, it was literally an entrance and exit, like that was just crazy. When the original story was just, you just phase through. So that was interesting to see. I wasn't expecting that too much. I did low-key think he would just fall through the floor at any moment in the movie and just not be able to escape. So I did think that was pretty cool. He also mapped it out pretty fast. I wish we got to see him mapping it out a little bit. We never got to see that. We just saw him enter it, leave, and then all of a sudden he had a map of it, which I was like, oh, okay. That was kind of surprising. I wish we kind of got to see that go down, because it seemed like he just already understood it within one scene to the next scene, right? There was one scene of him going in it for the first time. Then he's talking to the therapist about it. And then he comes back and goes in it. And he's like, he just understands it now, which is insane to me, how it happened so fast. So that's a part I wish I would have gotten a little bit more context on, though.
Really cool on the big screen. A lot better than it looks in the fucking games that I've experienced. It goes on forever. It's got nonsensical architecture. It's nightmarish. It's just very unnerving being in the back rooms. And he's exploring, and he's trying to put it all together. What does it mean? What is this place? And then he starts to hear some footsteps. He gets scared. We don't see anything that's chasing him, but we know there's something there. We hear it. He starts to panic and freak out. He does eventually find his way back. And then he tries to tell his therapist, Mary, about it. She doesn't really believe him, but he's started mapping it out. He's drawn up the fucking blueprints of it. And he wants to prove its existence, that he's not crazy or anything or having some psychotic episode. So then he has one of his employees and her boyfriend come with him to the back rooms to film, and that's when we experience the exploration and the eeriness, the creepiness, the nonsensical nature of the back rooms through this old school camera. So it's all grainy, and this isn't the first time.
That was so eerie, bro. Oh my god. That room he gets dropped down to with that's just like clothes that are all like rotting and like smells bad. That was like, even before he died, like that was like that was creepy, bro. And then like at one point he looked up and it looked like there was just like a door up there, and I thought that was so cool. I'm like, that's literally how they be doing it in the games, bro. I don't know why that's such like I feel like a little kid where it's just like, oh my god, I get the reference, you know what I mean? But I literally was like, that was so cool that they just like had that. I don't know, I thought that was so fire.
The movie did found footage. It opened with a found footage, camcorder style sequence. And I know a lot of people are really tired of it because it has been exhausted. They have milked found footage to death. There is not a drop of milk left in those titties. But I would still say it does very well in this film, especially when the Backrooms was built upon.
What is he talking about found footage for? So I don't really watch movies or anything, so he might be talking about literally other movies that do this. Unless he's talking about the games, though. I feel like found footage that might be what he's talking about, is like the the YouTube scary stuff. Yeah, no, I get that it's definitely overdone a bit, but I love the way that it was like all combined into one, because it wasn't really found footage because you were with bro while he was recording it, you know what I mean? It was more the idea of found footage to then show someone else that you were also seeing him show. So it wasn't, I don't think I ruined it. I thought that was fire.
Found footage, at least most of the content, is around old school camcorder videos where some poor soul falls into the back rooms and ends up in a library that's shaped like a DNA helix, and maybe the fucking Babadook throws.
Okay, he's for sure talking about other backrooms things. Okay, no, I'm picking up what he's putting down. But no, I thought this was a great way to do it. Is combining both at the same time.
Was a pie in their face, whatever. Found footage is integral to the DNA of the backrooms. So obviously it's got to be here, and I do think they do a good job of making it not like the most trope, cliche-ridden found footage you'll ever see. I think they did a good job of making it interesting. We are not just seeing like jump scares or whatever through the camcorder. We're seeing a lot of the backrooms and trying to like map it out ourselves, and we're hearing things, we're seeing things, we're watching the group here try and explore deeper to see what's down there. You get like a laundry room section, then you get this monster that you can't quite make out the shape or the actual look of it, and I think that helps elevate it. You see the panic as the guy's trying to run back, pull me up, pull me up, pull me up, and then ultimately ends with the entire group being pulled down by the monster. We see blood splattered all over the place, everyone's screaming, and this is all through this 90s camera. So it's definitely got like that old school VHS camcorder style feel that I think is always something that can make it creepier. Especially when you are dealing with like a monster. I always think it's best not to just go whole hog and show the monster outright, because that takes a lot of the mystery out of it, and the scarier experience is when the audience isn't quite sure what they've seen, which is something I said about Obsession. I thought Obsession did a great job of that with its lighting, how it would like obscure Nikki's face and make you on the edge of your seat, like trying to figure out like what expression is she even making? What's going on there? Like, I think that's when horror is at its best, when you're not entirely sure what the threat is, but you know it's a threat. And the Backrooms, in a couple of instances, does that too. But the Backrooms also isn't shy about just showing the creepy things. So as Clark is exploring the Backrooms and running away, he of course keeps the camera with him.
Yeah, through like the middle of the movie,
So
like
we're
when it really
experiencing it too.
when it really started getting intense, it was like really eerie, bro, because you knew there was entities there, and you also knew that like you don't just know the path out, you know what I mean? Like it's like a maze almost, and that's where it's like, bro, like it gave me this sense of like doom just constantly, and it was pretty fire, because I knew I wasn't gonna actually die, you know what I mean? So I thought it was dude, just the way they did that. I also don't really be watching movies, so maybe I'm just like, you know, it's just like I watched something for the first time almost. I'm gonna be in awe anyways. I don't really have much to compare it to, but I did really enjoy it, especially the chase scenes, you know, when you don't really know what's even chasing you, but it's just you don't know where you are anyways. So everything's already a mystery. So I just thought, dude, it was good.
We see like a Christmas tree. We see a lot of like furniture that's clipping into walls. We see a lot of rooms that just don't make any sense. But we also see some potential enemies down there. Like a woman who just starts charging at Clark, and that freaks him out. Eventually, we then leave this adventure here with Clark, and now we're focusing a bit more on Mary. And we've been getting flashbacks to a very troubled childhood that was traumatic for her with.
Yo, I just realized that there was only one time where one of like the statue people started chasing after him. And it was the same lady who near the end, he cut off her hair to then put on his therapist to act like his ex-wife. So my theory is that when he was in the back rooms, it's like all these subconscious thoughts coming up. Even when I was watching the movie, I was low-key thinking about how it's like Inside Out 2. It's literally like a mushroom trip or something like that that's visualized, right? It's supposed to be like him going deep in his subconscious, realizing all of these bad things that he does, realizing that it's like a maze that he keeps trapping himself in a loop. That's like the main point that they keep saying in the movie. So I think he sees this like enemy that starts chasing him, which is his ex-wife. That's like the main focus of like his problems and all that. And then he ends up like befriending her towards the end, cutting off her hair and then putting it on the therapist, telling the therapist to act like his ex-wife. Bro, literally, oh my God, I'm a genius. I just solved it.
Her mother going through very severe mental health problems where she wasn't even letting her daughter outside. So she has been trapped inside as well, kind of like her own personal back rooms in a certain way, and that's something that I believe they were exploring, especially towards the end of the film. But anyway, the second half, well, not the second half, like the last 30-ish minutes, we are spent with Mary discovers the back rooms. Turns out Clark was right about everything. She meets Clark, and Clark has kind of lost his mind. He is unhinged, and we are now seeing that side of Clark that came out during the earlier therapy sessions where that rage is coming out. He's angry at the world, and he takes no responsibility for where he is and how unhappy he is. So he ties her to a chair, and that's when he starts monologuing. And this is where I thought some of the dialogue got a little weak. Even though the acting was great, I think some of the dialogue just wasn't really hitting during this section. And this is also where the movie now just shows you all of the threats that we had only kind of caught glimpses of. In this scene, Clark has 3 humanoid people around him, but there's something very off about them. And they're very odd looking. He stabs one. He then starts pulling the stuffing out of one of them's belly. He's like, the best part is you can eat them. And he plops stuffing on the plate. And it's goofy, but I believe that's self-aware. I think that was supposed to be humorous. A couple people in the auditorium were laughing at that. And I believe that's on purpose. So, I actually thought that was really good. But by showing you, these creatures that we were all were fearful of going into it, it now takes the bite out of them when we see them again later. I think they've done a good job of making them look unnerving, that's for sure, but it's now no longer scary because he's explaining exactly what they are. They're basically thoughtless, feelingless husks. They are copies, and the area they're in is a unexplainable phenomenon that remembers everything, places and people, and it copies them. Without rhyme or reason, things don't logically connect. The more it remembers, the less it gets right. So everything just looks off and doesn't make sense. And it's a really, really cool explanation for all of it, and the way Clark delivers it, I think, is great. I actually was really captivated by that, and it was, I think, a very good, reveal of the back rooms to Mary here, as Clark has lost his mind. Clark, while explaining this weird, wacky world that they're in here in the back rooms, is also very threatening to Mary. He has a knife. He's got her tied to a chair, and it looks like he's going to kill her. He even goes up to one of the copies in there, the woman, and scalps her, cuts her hair off, takes the scalp and puts it on top of Mary as a wig, and then demands that they go through that exercise from the beginning of the film where he is being walked through his experience the night that Barbara kicked him out of the house with Mary, and now he is demanding that Mary play Barbara again. It's a very tense scene, and I think it works really well. But where I think it loses some of its luster is after Clark and Mary have their big exchange, and Clark is, starting to learn this is where he wants to be. Then we have the big giant bad guy from the beginning of the film, and that we've seen as a threat throughout, when Clark and his employee and her boyfriend were there. We see the big bad guy, and it's a version of Clark. It's a copy of Clark in his pirate getup that he used to advertise on TV for his furniture store. And I really think by showing you that just full front, it made it a little silly as opposed to scary, especially considering Clark then starts talking to it like it's an animal. Oh, don't worry, buddy. No, she said this is just how we are. It's how we're wired. And the scene, it is supposed to be, I believe, a bit of an emotional beat, because Clark, for the first time in his life, finds a place that he feels he belongs and believes that, this is good. This was healthy. This is what it's making him happy. And now this copy of Clark that's giant, it's enormous, and it's malicious. He is now talking to it like an animal calmly, and then he gets picked up, he gets uppies, and then gets eaten. It was like that picture of, Saturn eating its young. What's that classic photo that's in every horror game ever, where it's biting into the guy? I'm pretty sure it's Saturn eating his young. But anyway, it's that, and then it ends up killing Clark, and then the rest of the movie is spent with Mary running away from giant pirate Clark. And the chase isn't bad. It goes through a lot of other really creepy areas in the back rooms, and it is like a big threat here with this giant creature making a lot of very loud, spooky noises. But to me, I thought the movie was at its best when it was slowly building to things, gradually building tension and unnerving you, as opposed to now just kind of being like a nuts to butts chase. And that's not to say the whole chase is just like Scooby-Doo-esque or anything like that, because there are some tense moments in there, and it's like I said, it's not like I disliked it, but I just really thought by keeping it more of like a mystery and keeping it more...
Yeah, for me, I felt like when it became to the chase part, I was like just kind of confused by it, I guess. You know what I mean? And I guess that's the point. The whole thing is already confusing. You know what I mean? But I think what I would have rather happened is, I don't know. I do agree that like the mascot looks silly. And I understand the idea that it's supposed to be Clark's bad thoughts, right? His inner thoughts ended up taking over him. That's why normal him's dead, and now it's just the bad version of him inside of this subconscious world, right? This other realm. So I do understand that part, but it just, I don't even know like what I would change about it because I'm not a director, you know, like I don't make movies or anything, but it did feel like weird. Just how that ended, like how it was just chasing her and stuff. I was like, oh, get away. But in the back of my head, I'm like, what is like, I don't even know why. Like, I don't even know, you know what I mean? I guess it was just a way to introduce all new spaces too, you know what I mean? Like just to show that it truly is like endless. Like it just goes on forever. They had a lot of other moments that really showed it went on forever too. Like even when she was getting chased, she wasn't the first time we ever seen the film where it's just endless void. You just see floors and you're just like, wow, you're just like, this thing goes on. There's so much to this, right? Another one too was there was a camera that was like phasing through the floor of this one room where Mary grew up at, right? And every time it phased through the floor, everything became a little bit off every single time. And it probably did it like 10 different floors. And then by the end of it, it looked like the back rooms. Like it was gone, right? So I do think they were really trying to like nail in the fact that it just was endless, bro. So that's why I do think the chase was like okay, just because like if it's endless, who's to say that there couldn't be any type of enemy, right? So the fact that it was some weird version of Clark as a pirate, it does come off goofy at first, but if you really think about it, there's probably millions of other versions of enemies out there. It just happened to be that one because she was with Clark. You know what I mean? I try to give it the benefit of doubt. I can kind of see through the light pretty clearly. But yeah, it doesn't feel perfect to me, especially the ending part. But hey, perfection, what even is that? You know, who knows?
Obscure on like what's even around and what's making it a threat. I thought that's when the film was at its best. And I really think the camcorder footage, the found footage, were some of the best sequences in the film. Now, admittedly, I do think there are some parts that maybe linger a little too long, especially when Clark first gets to the back rooms where we'll see him walk down a long hallway and we see every fucking agonizing step of that walk. And it's obviously he's in like a really weird location and this hallway doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a lot of like noise now happening. So like I get why it'd be slow, but I just don't think we needed to see every single step there.
I disagree. I remember thinking about that when he was first entering the back rooms, everything was going so slow. Everything was going so slow, but I didn't care. I was not bored at all. I was like, dude, this is so cool. Like, this is the first time we've ever seen a setting like this on a big screen, right? At least like in my head. So it's like, I don't care that it's going slow because like, it's like I'm there. You know what I mean? Like I'm like a real person isn't going to go to the back rooms and be like, oh, I've seen this online before. You know what I mean? Obviously, like the whole idea is that he's never seen this before. So I was fully in the same boat as him to take everything kind of slow, to really like sit with him as the silence is there. I thought that was really cool, but I do remember thinking in my head, like I noted down in my head that it is taking hella long, but not in a bad way. I was messing with it.
Because then it does feel like it dragged. And there are a couple instances of that, but not many. But what I'm saying is, I really do think the film was at its best when it was slowly building and slowly showing you things that you, as the viewer, weren't entirely sure what you saw. I thought that made it creepier. And it's not to say that I think by showing all of the, copies and, like, Pirate Clark, that it, like, took away from the film. I still think it worked really well in the context of it, especially when they're explaining what this place is. It's not even like necessarily an evil place. It is just this mysterious entity that is remembering and copying things, and it's just not copying them super well. So these things don't know how to act. They don't know how to think or what to do, so they just do things inexplicably. So like it still works. I just personally preferred when it was slower and like constantly keeping you on edge of what you're going to see next or what you thought you might have even seen in the last room. Anyway, I did like the back rooms. I thought it was very enjoyable. I had a good time with it. And I'm really excited for more of Kane Parsons' projects coming up. Like, I'm really excited to see what else he'll sink his teeth into, because I imagine this is going to be very successful. The fucking theater was packed. So, like, I'm assuming it's going to do extremely well in the box office, so he'll probably get more under his belt. And I'm excited to see what they are, because I think he did crush it with this. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.
Hey, my bad. W video, bro. I mess with his opinion. Yeah, I do think he's not picking up the idea though that it's like the therapy part. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like that's just going past his head a little bit. Like I think the reason why the therapy part was so prominent in the film was to go one-on-one with the monster, right? The monster's supposed to be, at least in my head, the subconscious threat that Clark poses to himself and the world and the people around him and stuff, right? Like that's supposed to be it manifesting as the monster in the back rooms. I don't think it's supposed to be just a memory that got deformed. I think that's like part of the idea, but that's more of the back rooms as a whole. I think the entity is his subconscious. Like that's why it literally looks like him. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm totally wrong though. Maybe I'm like trying to make it better than it really was. I don't know, but let me know how y'all feel about this. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this in the future, and listen to Blakey on all platforms. Blakey, music everywhere. Blakey, all plats. I'll see y'all. Oh my god, I almost hit stop streaming. Yo, I be forgetting that I do this. The Backrooms Hate Situation by Penguin Zero. Oh, he's hitting a dance move for us. I just watched his breakdown of the Backrooms. If you want to watch that first, I think that would come first in this duo part. But here we watch this one right now, right here in the world.
Expect the unexpected. How many times do I have to teach you that lesson? I wasn't some superstar whiz in chemistry mastering the periodic table, but I got very familiar with the element of surprise. You could probably tell I'm in a bit of a silly, goofy mood, but I am going to be yapping about something that I couldn't help but dive into the cesspool on, and that is the backroom.
That really scared me, Charlie. You didn't tell me you were going to do that. I wasn't ready. Okay, I think I'm good.
Hate bandwagon versus the obsession glaze carriage. This shit is like Team Edward versus Team Jacob for horror movies right now. I was going to say horror movie fans, but I think a lot of the people weighing in on this have maybe never seen a movie in their life until this week or last week. It is so degenerate and just absolutely atrocious that I can't help but weigh in on it. So, most of you know, Obsession is my favorite movie of the year so far. I made a whole video just gushing grannies over it. I think it is an absolute home run. I loved every fucking scene in that film. And last night, I saw The Backrooms and I made a video on that, and I liked it. I thought it was a good movie and at times even a really good film. It had quite a few problems, mostly like in the second half of the film, but overall, I enjoyed the film and I think it's a very solid film. However, Film Twitter, and I can't even call them Film Twitter because, like I said, I feel like most of them probably haven't seen a moving picture outside of TikTok before. But a lot of people that are weighing in on the Backrooms right now because maybe they saw advertisement for it and just wanted to be part of the crew, part of the ship because it was slated to be like one of the biggest movies so far this year. they went and saw it and then were disappointed, and they were saying, it's the worst movie I've ever seen. It's completely unwatchable trash, that kind of thing. And I'm not exaggerating. Tweets like this are more common than the cold right now. I blurred out the account here, but this is an account with 300-something thousand followers, and it's always blue check marks, so I guess there's always the chance that it's for engagement farming. But this individual writes, went in with an open mind because I love Backrooms content, but beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is probably the worst movie I've ever seen in theaters, and most definitely the worst film I've seen opening day. What a disappointment, lol.
Worst movie you've ever seen in theaters? Yo, Twin, did you watch the Power Ranger movie back in 2012? Like, what are you talking about? That's insane. I saw one of the biggest takes, even before I watched the movie, I saw a lot of people talking about how it was like there was no levels, like the games had it and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're so annoying. You're so annoying. Like, actually, this movie was not made to satisfy the TikTok viewer who thinks there's levels to the Backrooms. No, that's called when you make a game out of it. This is a movie. Like, there's different forms of taking an idea and making it an experience, right? You can take an idea and make it a game by adding levels, but you can also take an idea and make it a movie by doing different stuff, right? Like, it's so stupid that they just want it to be like the Roblox game. Gang, chill.
They then never explained what they didn't like about it, just, it was bad, can't watch it, worst thing I've ever seen in theaters. And there's nothing wrong with not liking it. I think that's totally fine, and I understand some people that are actually giving, like, a real perspective on it. But the bulk of it is just stuff like this. Oh, it's the worst thing ever made, actually. Which is just a sign of the times we live in, where something is either the best thing ever made or the worst thing ever made. There is no longer any in between. You either have to worship it and suck the fucking piss out of its balls, or you have to at all times be pooping and farting on it. It is just the worst thing ever made. There is no nuance left. I just find it so fascinating, if they're being truthful, that this actually is the worst movie they've seen. That means they've seen maybe like 4 movies in their entire fucking life. That's the only way that's possible, because objectively, this is far from even the worst movie of the last month. Like, this is, no matter how you spin it, even if you didn't like it, which again is totally fine, there are things to not like about it, there have been significantly worse movies that have come out in just the last 2 weeks. Now, of course, maybe they didn't see them, but that's why I find it so interesting, because even the big films that have come out this year, I think a good handful are worse than the Backrooms, no matter how you spin it. Like, this is probably someone that maybe just goes...
I think he's about to say Super Mario Galaxy. If you start dissing Super Mario Galaxy, Charlie, if it starts catching strays right now, we're gonna have a problem. Do not bring up Super Mario Galaxy as a bad movie, okay? It's good.
And sees every Marvel movie ever and just blue screens in their brain for the jingling keys. I guess that's possible. Like, I have no idea, but they preface it by saying they love Backrooms content. I just think that's a liar, liar, pants on fire moment right there, because...
Okay, he's not. He's talking about Marvel. That's fine. Super Mario Galaxy's good.
The movie is just, I think, a more fleshed out version of the Backrooms content. And keep in mind, I'm someone that doesn't like the Backrooms. I'm a D1 hater on Backrooms. I'd find extra hours in the day just to make jokes about the Backrooms. Even though I always appreciated the work that Kane Parsons put into it, I just never got into it. And I played so many of the games as a fucking meme because the games are such dog shit. And yet, I ended up liking this film because I thought it did what the other content failed to do for me, which is get me invested in it, make me care, and actually show me some interesting things that I thought were pretty different from the normal horror slop that I watch. And I watch like every horror movie ever made. So I was pretty satisfied with it. So I was really confused about this perspective, because it isn't like a small number of people. In fact, its Rotten Tomatoes score is right now in the 70%, which isn't bad, but let's keep in mind fucking Five Nights at Freddy's and Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the super sequel Stinkerooski, both have Rotten Tomatoes audience scores in the 80s. And this is why I think Rotten Tomatoes audience scores are actually significantly worse than critic scores in a lot of instances, because half the audience just seems to be legitimately fucking lobotomized. These 2 films are like cinematic hemorrhoids. And it's totally fine to like go in there and have fun. Like, if you just want to turn your brain off and just point at the screen, I get that reference, and just glup shitto out, oh, Bite of 86, oh, that kind of stuff. There's no shame in that. But they're not good movies by any means. They are the most, like, by the numbers, cash grab slop shit to capitalize off of a rabid fandom. It still does just flabbergast me that those two films are as positively received as they are, but it really shouldn't shock me when things like AI Fruit Love Island were some of the most popular videos on TikTok for months of people like really heavily engaging with that garbage. So, like, I guess, of course, it shouldn't be a surprise that things like Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and 2 also really hit with that crowd. But still, come on. And yet they have a much higher score with the audience than The Backrooms does. A movie that actually tries, and I do think succeeds, in doing something different. So why is that? Especially when we look at something like Obsession, which right now is a huge, home run with critics and the audience alike. It has been going ballistic in the box office, and the word of mouth is the strongest I've ever seen for a movie in the modern age, where week over week it keeps growing, which is unprecedented. It's now over $100 million in the box office off a sub-million dollar budget. It's become a phenomenon, and now people are addicted to comparing Obsession to The Backrooms, and trying to constantly put down The Backrooms because it's not Obsession. It's become like actual fucking sports teams now to these audience members.
Bro, is Obsession good? I've only ever heard a few people talk about it recently, but I know it's doing numbers. I don't plan to watch it. I might do that. That might go crazy. We could try.
That are fucking out there on the front lines in the trenches fighting here for no reason, because I don't think in any world is Obsession comparable to The Backrooms. They are entirely different kinds of horror films, but people can't help it, and it got me really hooked, as it I got addicted like it was fucking heroin to reading these absolute mind-numbing takes, and it became painfully clear why Obsession worked even with the modern audience zombie. And it became very obvious what The Chemical X was for Obsession. Obsession, I think, is just an extraordinary movie, but there was one thing about it that really worked well with the audience, and that is, it's simple. You don't have to actually think or really directly engage with what the film is showing you. It's very simple, and in my review, I pointed that out too. The storyline for Obsession, the plot, is actually something that we've seen tons of times. Even in something like The Fairly Odd Parents with Timmy and Trixie, where he makes the wish about them being the last two people on Earth so Trixie will fall in love with him. It is a storyline you've already seen before, so you don't actually get challenged to actually think of anything, deeper, and the messaging that the film wants to deliver isn't subtle, so anyone can pick up on it and feel like this sense of pride and accomplishment, like it's a fucking EA game here, I guess, that they were able to see the message. And that is not a knock on Obsession at all, because it's by design, and I think it's very smart, and it's something I pointed out in my review. It is simple, and it uses this very simple formula to really wow. The execution is unlike most horror films out there. It is a fucking masterpiece in the way that it builds its tension, the way that it unnerves the audience, the way that it's not afraid to sit on something cringe and uncomfortable and just really make you squirm. But you see, Darman fam, I don't think anyone would consider Obsession a slow film. It's not afraid to be slow in certain scenes to really get some juice for the squeeze there and the creepiness and the eeriness, but the film itself is always moving, and something is always happening to be startling or scary or just that kind of feeling. The Backrooms is slow by design. It is a slow film, and it's very clear people don't want to engage super deeply with what they're seeing on the screen. The biggest complaint is that The Backrooms is boring, that they don't like that characters are just exploring without gore and without a ton of jump scares and without a ton of monsters or anything like that. So they're calling it a snooze fest for that it's too...
Dude, I think it was so interesting, bro. I thought it was just cool to just be walking around. There could be no monsters. There could have been no death at all, and I still would have thought it would have been fire to at least watch an hour of it. You know what I mean? It was just, I don't know. I thought it was really cool just to see all that happen. Just to see a person in that setting. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've seen it on games and stuff, so it's just cool to see a person there. But I think even if I didn't see no games and stuff, it still would have given me a feeling, bro, some eeriness that I would have wanted to chase. I thought that was cool.
Too slow and saying things that make it pretty clear they weren't paying attention, where they're pointing out they don't even say what happened to Clark, was one of the complaints I saw, even though it literally shows you what happened to Clark, by the way. So you had already zoned out. You completely checked out. You're probably on your phone. So people just don't want to engage too thoroughly with what they're watching. So a movie like The Backrooms being slower is going to be divisive to a modern audience. So even something like Five Nights at Freddy's isn't that divisive because people just want to go in there and get the stimulation. And Five Nights at Freddy's is always doing something. There's always something happening on screen. And all of it, the whole kit and caboodle, is bad. But it doesn't matter because it's there. The only good thing about the Five Nights at Freddy's movies are the animatronics, the actual work they did bringing those to life on the screen. It, like, practically, I think is very impressive. But the films themselves are fucking really not good. But the thing is, it is faster paced. So people are having more fun with that than something like The Backrooms, where things aren't always happening. There are a lot of scenes where characters are just traversing this weird, odd landscape. And there are some deeper messages in there that aren't spoon-fed to you, especially towards the end of the film. Even though the film does also spoon-feed a lot to you as well, but people didn't even bother to engage with that much, which I found very odd too. But yeah, the core of it, with all these complaints and a lot of the takes I've seen, it all ties into it's too slow for the modern audience. And there are very real complaints. Again, I want to make it clear. I totally understand why people also would find other things to not like about it. It's not a perfect film by any means, and it's something I highlighted too. But the hate bandwagon seems to be just this avalanche now. It was a snowball that's turned into an avalanche where now it's cool to hate on it. That's like the trendy thing. That's like the socially acceptable take to have on it. And its big crime was that it was slow. Thus, slow equals boring. Which I think is a real shame. And I think there's a real criticism there because, as I said in my review, there are quite a few scenes that do drag. You don't need to see him go through every single fee-fi-fo-fum down a hallway. You could definitely speed those kind of shots up. But even outside of that, a lot of the film is spent in like this found footage where they're going through here and maybe you're catching glimpses of monsters and stuff, but you're not like immediately getting like jump scared or seeing something super scary. You are going on a slow burn journey. And I actually went through and checked some other slow horror films like Hereditary, which is actually one of my favorite films ever made. It has an audience score even lower than The Backrooms at 72%. I think that movie's a masterpiece, but the thing about Hereditary, it's a slow burn. And I remember back when this first came out, a lot of people had the same complaints about that as they do right now with The Backrooms. It is very much not a secret, and it's not rocket science, and it's not hard to see that the thing people dislike the most about movies is if they're slow. Even if it's slow on purpose, even if it's slow for the sake of building this tension throughout the course of the film and trying to hopefully get you.
I think that's just a problem with people, bro. That's not even the movie's fault. I think that's just like attention spans or something. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm blessed to be able to enjoy a film like that. Like, imagine watching a film and just thinking like, oh, this is so boring. Like, dude, lock in. Like, what are we doing? Like, that's actually crazy. That's unfortunate. You're missing out, bro. Lower your attention span or raise it or something like that. Do whatever the better one is. Do that.
Hooked on it to engage with it, people just don't want to. They would rather it just get to the point, which is a big thing I saw in a lot of the conversation around this movie. They think that it was aimless and that it was such a slog because scenes would go on where they're just walking through weird rooms. Who cares? Yawn, show me a monster. And I think that's kind of a shame. And I'm not coming in here sirens blazing as the fun police. If you didn't like the movie, you didn't like the movie. And again, that's totally fine. I just really do think it's sad that we've reached this point where a lot of people just can't sit still. And I know this has been like a big, yapping point for a while now with like TikTok brain and the attention spans and all of that. But I think it's pretty evident that people don't even really want to change that. They really do just want everything instant gratification. They want all of it immediately. They would rather go into a horror film and it's just jump scares right away, or it's just really moving super fast right away. They don't want to slowly get there. And I think that they really miss out on what kind of rewarding experience can come from a product that doesn't just instantly give you the beans. Some of my favorite movies, shows, and games are slower. And I think there's a lot of special art in there. And if we reach a point where a lot of the big movies that come out are really afraid to be slow, we're basically just going to keep getting things like fucking Five Nights at Freddy's where it's TikTok content on the silver screen. And I think that's kind of bleak. I'd rather see more horror films like The Backrooms than Passenger or The Conjuring or Five Nights at Freddy's. I'd rather 100 more movies like Backrooms than even 10 more of those. Just fucking generic slop. Anyway, this was just something that I really couldn't help but just blabber about as I was reading all of these takes about how The Backrooms is the worst movie ever because it's slow. It's slow. They ruined it. Which I find very odd because Backrooms is slow. Even like the content on YouTube isn't exactly the most nuts to butts action-packed monsters out the wazoo either. And the games super duper aren't that. They are really, really, really.
That's what I was just thinking. The whole point of the games is literally like a maze. Like so many of the games, there might be a monster, but some of them there aren't even a monster. The whole entire point is just to escape. Like that's the whole entire point. It literally is the most time-consuming thing in the world, but that's literally the point. Is that it's like interesting to see it all unfold. It's not all about just boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Like that'd be so annoying. I think that's why I liked the film was because it was chill. Like it wasn't chill, obviously, but it was like not like in your face. Like I thought man, I keep saying it. I thought it was good.
Really agonizingly boring, and in most of those games, nothing happens until the last 2 minutes where you get a jump scare. So the games are even slower, and somehow people like those games but didn't like this movie. The movie moved faster than the games. But anyway, I'll stop yapping about it. Point is, the reason I believe that The Backrooms is right now just getting dogpiled is because people just don't really want things that don't instantly give them what they're expecting, which in horror movies is scares. The Backrooms builds up to it, work towards it, and I think it does a good job. I enjoyed it. It has its problems, sure, but I thought it tried to do something different than most big budget horror movies that we see, and I appreciated that, and I had a good time with it. Yes, Obsession I think is an absolute masterpiece. It is still my favorite movie of the year, but it is not comparable to The Backrooms. These are totally separate films, and I think comparing them does absolutely nothing except lead to hostility over apples to oranges. Pretty fucking stupid. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.
W video by Charlie, bro. I thought that was pretty interesting. Let me know how y'all feel down below. This will be a cool conversation to have. If y'all want to see more videos like this one, subscribe. And then also check out the main channel too. Just Blakey. No react. And then yeah, listen to Blakey on all platforms too. Blakey, music everywhere. Blakey. And then yeah, check out The Backrooms. W movie. Unless you got TikTok brain apparently. But yeah, and then also